Elementary Algebra, Assessment 3, Review, questions 1 through 5. For question 1, the instructions read, graph the equation. We're not giving any specific instructions on how to graph, just to graph. This means that you can make the choice on which of the three methods we learned to use to graph the equation below. I have here in question 1, y equals 4x minus 4. When I look at this equation is in the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Because it's already in this form, I could use the y-intercept and the rise over run method with the slope to graph my line. When in the form y equals mx plus b, the b position gives me part of the y-intercept. It doesn't give me the complete y-intercept, but it does give me part of it. The b position is telling me where on the y-axis the line is going to cross. To get the ordered pair for the y-intercept, I simply put a 0, b. So the b in this one is a negative 4, so my y-intercept is a 0, negative 4. So I can come over here to my graph, and I can graph a point, 0, negative 4. Don't forget to label your points. The ordered pair needs to be labeled on the point. Now I can find another point by using the slope, or the m position, and using the rise over run. When I look back at my equation up here, I see that my m position is a 4. If I take that 4 and I put it over 1, then I have a rise of 4 and a run of 1. So I come back over here to the point that I know, and I rise 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I run 1. I went towards the positives because the 1 is a positive. And I put another point. Then I can read what this point is. This is 1, 0, so I labeled it. And now I can draw my line in. I've completed the graph. On question number 2, we have the equation y equals a negative 4/5 x. Whenever we have the situation where we have a 0 value where the b would go, this means that our line is going to cross at the origin, or 0, 0. So I can immediately come in and put a point here at the center and label it. Now again, I can use the slope to find other points on the line. Here I've got a negative 4/5 for my m. Because I have a negative, I can either put it on the numerator, the top, or the denominator, the bottom, and use the rise over run to graph. Let's first put the negative down here on the denominator's position. So this is going to be a 4 over a negative 5. So coming to the graph, I would raise 4 because it's a positive 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I would run towards the negatives 5 places because I have a negative 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now I have another point at 4, negative 5. If I kind of drift this down a little bit, now I could take the negative and put it up on the 4. So that means when I look at this one, to put my next one in, I'm going to run, well actually let's start with the rise. I'm going to rise a negative 4. What that actually means is that instead of rising, because it's negative, I'm really going to drop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I'm going to run 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And there's another point at 5, negative 4. So again, using the rise over run method, we've graphed this line. You could also graph it by selecting values for x or for y and solving for the other to create an ordered pair. Coming down, question number 3 has an x equals a negative 2. Well, when I look at this one, whenever I have an x equal to some value, I know that my line is going to cross through the x-axis but not the y-axis, and it's going to create a horizontal line, and it's going to cross at the point where I have the negative 2, 0. So I have an x-intercept. I have an ordered pair. I have this negative 2, 0. So I have a point. And I know that now it's going to be a perfectly vertical line, straight up and down, so I can draw in the rest of my line, and I've completed it. If this had been a y equals a -2, then I would have had a line running horizontal through the y-axis at 0, -2. Question number 4 has very specific instructions. It says graph using the x and the y intercepts. I'm given in number 4 the equation of the line 2x minus 3y equals 6. This is in a standard form. Standard form is when we have an ax plus a by equals c. For this one, to calculate the x-intercept, we would plug in a 0 on the y position and solve. So I'm going to take my formula, I'm going to plug it down here, and I'm going to write it out putting a 0 in the y position and solve for x. So I end up with 2x minus 3 times 0 equals 6. The 3 times 0 goes down to 0, so I'm left with 2x equals 6. Now I'm going to divide that 2 out to both sides. By doing so, I clear the 2 from the left side of the equation, leaving only the x. On the other side, I end up with the 3. So now I have the ordered pair 3, 0. So I have 1 point, my x-intercept. So I can come over here and put that 3, 0, on the line. Going down, let's also work on our y-intercept. For a y-intercept, we're going to plug in a 0 on x. So in the same equation where I see x, I'm going to plug in a 0. So I end up with 2 times 0, which is 0, so it clears it from the equation. So I'm left with the negative 3y equals 6. Now I'm going to divide that negative 3 through so that y is left on the left side, and I end up with a negative 2 on the right. So my ordered pair here is 0 for the x that I plugged in, and a negative 2 for the y, which I calculated. So I come back up here and I can now put this point on the line. So 0, -2. And 2 points make a line, so I can draw my line in. But to be sure that I did the math correctly, I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to run a check. So I'm going to pick some number for x that I don't already have. So in this case, I'm going to choose an x equals 1 and I'm going to plug it in. So I put in a 1 here, so I end up with a 2. Subtract the 2 out on both sides. I'm left with a 3y equals 4. Divide the 3 out to clear it from the left, and you're left now with a -4/3. So 1, -4/3. So I'm going to come over here and see if that graphs onto my line. So I come out here, come out 1, and I come out 1 1/3, and that point's going to land right on my line. So my line is correct, so I can move on to my next problem. In number 5, it says write the equation of the line in slope-intercept form. So I'm looking here, and what I've been given is a line that's already graphed. So I'm going to pull the information from this graph to write this into slope-intercept form. Again, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we know that b is where our line is going to cross on the y-axis. So I come down here and I find that point. That point is 0, -4. So that means that the b is going to be the -4. This is my y-intercept, 0, -4. b is the -4. Then I need a slope still to plug into my equation. So I came over here and I looked at where it crosses on the x-axis. You just need to find another point on the line. It doesn't have to be the x-axis, but I chose that one. It's easy to follow when I'm looking at it. And I'm going to use the rise over run method to find the slope. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how far I have to rise or drop, depending on the direction of the line, before I'm even with the second point that I chose. So I'm going to start on 1, and I find that I have to rise 1, 2, 3, 4 places. And I went towards the positives. I rose. So in the top of my equation, in the top, I'm going to have a number 4. Now I'm going to see how many I have to run to get to the second point that I selected. I'm going to have to go towards the negative, so this is going to be a negative value. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now it's a negative 5. So if I look down here, for this slope, I plugged in the 4 that I rose and the negative 5 that I ran. So now I'm ready to plug that information into my slope-intercept form. So I have a y is equal to a slope that's negative 4 over 5x minus that 4. That's that b I got up here. Now I've written the equation of the line.